Okay, Dr. Mindy here, and I just want to start off by wishing you a happy new year. We are in 2020, which is really exciting, and I've got so many cool things coming down the pipeline to share with you guys. But I really want to make sure that I address today on this video the difference between a healthy lifestyle and a fasting lifestyle, because there's some little nuances that will make a big difference in how your health plays out here in 2020. So let me start off by just sharing with you, and a lot of you guys know this already, that me and my team, so it's just not me, but me and my team, we are on a mission to teach over 1 million people how to live a fasting lifestyle. And the reason why this is so massively important to me is that somewhere along the line of healthcare, I feel like we just lost belief in our own healing power. Nobody is teaching us how to tap into these internal reactions, mechanisms, designs of our human body that are self-healing. Somewhere along the line, we have gotten off track with feeling and thinking and listening to authority figures that tell us that health comes from the outside in, that you got to take a pill, you got to do a surgery, you got to do something to turn your body into a healing, or put it into a healing state. But nothing could be further from the truth. You are already born in a healing state. And those of you that come to fasting, what happens is you figure that out. It's super cool. You all of a sudden, you take food out of the equation, and all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, look at what my body's doing, and I'm not taking any drugs, I'm not taking any supplements, I'm not doing anything other than removing food so that the body can heal itself. So our mission to help 1 million people understand this truth is really embedded in the thought that if we could all learn how to heal ourselves, we could end so much suffering. We could end so many chronic diseases that are forming. So I'm so grateful for you guys that are on this path with me. 1 million people. We're not stopping till we got 1 million subscribers. We got 1 million people crossed all my platforms. So please keep sharing this information. Get it out to people. Share your experience with your friends so that they too can tap into their own healing power. So that's my mission for 2020. My other piece that I wanted to bring up to you guys are all the things that we're doing as a team. Just again, not me. I have a whole team of people that are helping me with this to make sure that you have the resources to build this fasting lifestyle for yourself. So for starters, I hope you guys know that next week, it depends on when you're watching this video, but next week is fast training week. And I do this once a month, so you can always count on here on my channel that I will be once a month be doing a 5-day fasting experience. I always give you 2 options during fast training week. I give you the option of a water fast, 3 to 5 day water fast. So if you haven't tried a water fast yet, this is a great opportunity to do that. Go watch the videos that I've done on how do you do an extended fast so that you're prepared for it. Then I always give you another option. So we have done all 7 fasts during fast training week. I think one of the most favorite is autophagy fasting. Again, depending on when you're watching this, in February 2020, we're going to do fast mimicking, but we're going to do it with Prolon. I had a really interesting conversation with the CEO of Prolon earlier this week. That'll be coming out on a Resetter TV for you guys to see. So, but this month, January 2020, what we're doing is intermittent fasting. So hopefully a lot of you guys saw that there's an article that is making headlines all over the place. And it was an article put out in the New England Journal of Medicine. And it talked about how they reviewed all the science on intermittent fasting, and they've discovered that it is an incredible healing tool and in many conditions should be used before medication and surgery. Really cool article. I dissect that article and I go through all the different conditions. I go through what they're measuring, and that video will come out tomorrow. So keep your eye out for that. But the second option for fast training week this month is intermittent fasting. And I know for some of you guys, you're experienced fasters and that. Okay, we're losing connection. Always suspicious when that happens. But we're also encouraging you to do a ketobiotic macros where you're going 50 grams net carbs, 50 grams of protein, and over 60% of your food coming from good fat. So if you're new to intermittent fasting, you can please tap into that, do the 18-6 window, and stay tuned because on my community page, I'll be posting what that means every morning. So we have when we do these fast training weeks, we give you a tremendous amount of support. And then as a community, you guys all rally around each other. I think that's what makes this channel, our Resetter group and Facebook so special, is so many of you guys are doing, you rally around each other. And I'm just so grateful for that. So fast training weeks, you can count on that every month. We also have, just to bring to your attention in January, our reset experience on January 11th. I'm bringing in experts from all over the world to talk to you guys on the science of fasting. We're going to dive into the microbiome and how we have different microbiomes on our skin, in our nose, around different organs and how they all communicate with each other. We're going to talk about the microbiome that breaks down estrogen. So I'm really excited to share that with you. We're going to dive into the mindset of fasting and what kind of mindset you can create for yourself. And then I'm going to dive into the toxins we know are currently in our environment and what will detox these. Is fasting enough of a detox? Are there other styles of detox that you need to use? So we are live streaming that event. So if you want more information, just put Reset Experience in your comments and we'll send you a link. If you are local to me, or a lot of people are flying in for it, join us. Our community is amazing. The venue we have at it is incredible, and you always, whenever you see something in person, you leave it at a higher vibration. You leave with more certainty than if you see it online. So join us if you're local, or join us live. Then the last thing this month, and don't worry, I'm going to get into the meat of this video in a moment, but the last thing that I want to point out is that we're going to do our Forever Young reset. And this is a really cool reset that I came up with that's based off of all the principles I taught here on my YouTube channel in 2019. So we're doing everything from plant diversity. I'm going to bring back some days where we're looking at how many different types of plants we're eating to feed our microbiome. We're going to do some muscle building. We're going to teach you the principles to burn fat. We're going to dive into stem cells. We're going to talk about autophagy, of course. So it's January 13th through the 31st. It is a group environment where I will guide you through the process of actually doing the reset yourself. There's a 50+ page ebook that comes with it. We have 3 Q&A calls. We have cohort leaders that are watching you, keeping an eye on you to make sure that you're getting what you need and that you're engaging in the reset. So it is an experience. It's not just information. You actually will be going through different fasts and different eating styles. So really excited to share that with you. Just put Forever Young Reset in your comments and we'll send you a link to that. Okay, so that's January. There's a lot in there. And I did it on purpose. I packed everything into January because so many of us come out of the gates January 1st and we're all excited about change in the new year, only to find by the end of January, we've really lost our way. And I feel like if we can really do a good job with our health in January and we set that tone, then it makes it more effortless as the other months come around. So I've got 3 things for you: fast training week, a live event, and then about 2.5 week experience with the Forever Young. So really excited to share that with you. Okay, last couple of things, and then I want to dive into healthy lifestyle versus fasting lifestyle, and I want to open it up for your questions. So other places that we are showing up to be able to support you. If you're a health practitioner, I will be speaking at CalJam this year in February over Valentine's Day weekend. So come see me there. If you want information on CalJam, again, just put CalJam in the comments and we'll send you a link. Those of you that are in the ketogenic movement, you've been going to like Paleo FX and Bulletproof Conference and KetoCon. I am speaking at KetoCon in June. So excited to be there. Come see me, get yourself a ticket, come see me and introduce yourself. And that way I know you're a resetter and that you've been involved in our community. And then the last and probably the most exciting thing is that I am in the process of writing a book. It's my third book. It will be out towards the end of February, and it's specifically for those women that are transitioning through menopause. So it's meant for the woman who is in many different phases of menopause, anywhere from peri to post-menopause, and is trying to build herself a fasting lifestyle to balance her hormones. So women, get ready. That book will be available to you in February. So I'm excited to share that with you. Okay, enough housekeeping. Let's dive into what's the difference between a healthy lifestyle and a fasting lifestyle. So here's something that I think I really want a paradigm shift to happen for you guys. I want you to go to a deeper level of thinking. When we say we're living a healthy lifestyle, we're exercising, we're sleeping well, we're eating right, all that we're saying is that we're minimizing the physical, the emotional, and the chemical stress on our bodies. So we're not necessarily in a healthy lifestyle, you're not necessarily taking in as many stressors that would destroy the human body. So that to me is what we classify as a healthy lifestyle. Many medical doctors would tell you that a healthy lifestyle is taking your statins. There are alternative practitioners that would tell you that a healthy lifestyle is taking a magic herb every day. And I think that there's nothing wrong with a healthy lifestyle, but I don't feel like it honors the intelligence of the body as deeply or as like a fasting lifestyle does. So to me, a fasting lifestyle is saying that not only am I going to not bring in physical, emotional, and chemical stressors at a large rate, so I'm still living a healthy lifestyle, but I'm going to develop tools that help me hack into the intelligence of my body and start to maximize this intelligence that is already inside of me. I'm going to learn how I can bring up the healing power of my body, not just stop putting toxins in and stressors in to suppress it. I'm going to actually figure out what I can do to grow this intelligence so much that it can heal me and heal the condition I'm dealing with. And why this is important is because so many of you guys come and you ask us questions on the lives, and you want to know, like, can fasting help with X, Y, and Z condition? And this is what I know about the human body is it's a miracle. Think about something as simple as cutting your finger. You cut your finger, you don't have to think about anything. Your body just heals itself. Those of you women who you've had children, I mean, how incredibly miraculous is it that your body can grow a child? It has the intelligence inside of it to grow a child. Like, you don't have to do anything. It's not like you walk around and go, oh, I need to, hold on a second, I got to grow an arm today. You don't think about that. A human body grows inside of you and it knows what to do when it's time to birth that human. We also know if you get an infection that something like a fever kicks in because the body's so smart that it raises the temperature so that it can burn out an infection. To me, that's what you're doing when you're living a fasting lifestyle, is you're saying, I honor that intelligence. And what I'm going to do is do everything within my power to make that intelligence as strong as possible. And in today's world, we have more physical stress or lack of physical movement. We've got more chemical stress. We've got more emotional stress. And those stressors are beating down this intelligence. So what we're finding, we see it in my clinic, we see it here on YouTube, is that the old tricks of living a healthy lifestyle to cure you are not working as well anymore. And so we need to go deeper. We need to move the conversation to a deeper level and start to go, okay, how can I maximize that intelligence? Autophagy is an incredible example of this. We know that if you take food out of the equation, that the cells turn within and they start to repair. They start to burn out infections. They start to take old recycled parts of the cell and they start to repair those cells. That's inside of you. You didn't have to purchase that. You didn't have to ask for it. You just had to understand that autophagy existed and understand the tools on how to be able to stimulate autophagy so that those mechanisms are already inside of you. Those of you that are using fasting for weight loss, you just had to understand that there was insulin and glucose that was being stored in fat. And once you brought down those insulin and glucose levels, that all of a sudden you could access those storages. Same thing. You didn't have to do anything. That is the intelligence of your body doing that. So to me, these are the tools of the fasting lifestyle, is understanding at a deeper level what you can do to just like turn on that healing power. How do you flip that switch so that you can get that healing power at maximum strength? And that to me is how we're going to shift ourselves out of the suffering that we're seeing in chronic disease right now, is that it's not good enough anymore just to eat right and exercise and get a good night's sleep. We've got to take it one layer deeper and go, what can we do? Let's turn on this intelligence. Let's hack into this. Let's figure out a way to maximize what I've already been given in the design of my body. So that's what I'm on fire for. That's what I'll be teaching over this year. That's what I want to teach 1 million people how to do. So please, if you're inspired by that, just give me a shout out, let me know, and just you guys do an incredible job of sharing my videos out. Just keep sharing them. We really just want to reach the masses with this idea. So, okay, that's healthy lifestyle versus fasting lifestyle. So let me open it up for those of you who have questions. And we are, by the way, I'm doing a question of the day on Instagram right now. So if you follow me on Instagram, on IGTV, I'm answering one question a day. So just find me over there and we'll make sure we get if you have a question that's very common that a lot of people are having, we'll make sure that gets answered. Okay. Questions at all?
We do have some questions.
Okay.
We have a lot of people on, again, from all over the world.
Awesome.
From the United Kingdom, from Australia, all over the United States.
Awesome.
So
welcome.
People are encouraging each other to find more subscribers, which is great.
Awesome. Thank you.
The best way to end a dry fast.
Ooh.
Don't eat a lot of carbs and sip water slowly. Is that what you would suggest?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. A dry fast, how's the best way to end it? So something to think about is that the short answer is end it with water. Like if you've done it 12 to 24 hours, have a glass of water. That would be the smartest and probably the only thing that I would say is a must when you end a dry fast. Now, if you're going more than 24 hours, you probably already know I don't recommend it unless you're being coached by somebody. Now, you could take all the different principles of fasting to maximize your benefits of dry fasting in how you break that fast. So there's something really cool I want to kind of walk you through in this thought process. So what we know with a dry fast and what we're seeing in my resetters, we see it in my clinic as well, is that people get into a deeper state of ketosis. Now, there's a lot of belief that if you dry fast for a day, it's like 3 days of a water fast. I'm still looking for the science on that. I haven't found that. But I do see clinically that people are getting into a deeper state of ketosis. So if that's you, you could extend that deep state of ketosis as you start to break that fast and move into the next day. So break it with water, and then I would move to fat. So I would then try some fat, almond butter, avocados, something really, really simple like that. And then if your hunger stops at that moment, you may be able to go, who knows, you might be able to go another 24 hours, you might be able to go another 6-7 hours, and your blood sugar, what the fat does is your blood sugar, it does not typically raise your blood sugar. So you can sort of ride, it's like that, I'm in California, it's like surfing that wave of dry fasting by do it with water, break it with fat, and then as the day goes on, see if you can go a little longer in the fast. And then of course, if you want to stay in ketosis, keep those carbs down. So, and I would always, anytime you do something that like cleans the body out, that gets a healing state, if you go from a dry fast to a McDonald's breakfast, that's so stressful on the body. So the quality of food that you eat really matters. So make sure if you break it with water and then you do fat, that you don't rush out and start to do junk food after that, because it's such a contrast for the human body, and it's like toxifying yourself and then detoxing yourself. So let me know if that helps.
Great. This is from Debbie. This is a question about frequency of fasting.
Okay.
So her specific regimen is she does OMAD, 1 meal a day,
Okay.
4 times a week.
Okay.
Because of the holidays. She does Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
And then the other day she does 18-6. So how long can she keep doing that? Does she need to change anything up?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So what I hear is 4 days a week, you're doing like around 24 hours. So you're going 1 meal a day, and then you're doing an intermittent fasting of 18-6 the rest of the time. So I think, my first intuitive thought is that if you do that all the time, that eventually you're going to get stuck somewhere, whether it's with weight loss or the results you're looking for or getting into ketosis, because it is a lot of fasting. 18 hours is still a lot of fasting. I just had a really interesting conversation with Dr. Anton yesterday of Prolon. He is not a fan of going more than 15 hours on the human body. And the reason that he says that is that it's what fasting does is it stresses the body. It puts the body in a stressful situation so that it will adapt. And so if you're doing those longer fasts, 18 hours, I know you're great at it, Debbie, but it's still a little bit of a stressor on the body. So I would make sure that 1 day a week, you're either maybe doing 13 hours of a fast, or you're not fasting at all, or maybe you throw in like a protein building day. But what I heard in that routine is too much restriction, and let's sprinkle in some days of building you up, whether it's hormone building or whether it's protein building, and then you can go back into those longer fasts.
So this is a hard question to answer, and I think we can't answer it here.
Okay.
But it's still something to pay attention to. Adriana wants to know for a friend, what types of cancers is fasting recommended for, and which ones are not?
Yeah, I think
which there is some differences
between
the cancers.
Let me give you somebody to follow on cancer that will be helpful. I really like Dr. Nasha Winter's information on cancer. She posts a lot on Facebook. She has a book called Cancer is a Metabolic Disease. And she understands the principles of keto and fasting for cancer. So that's the first thing I would tell you. There is research showing that fasting works really well for some cancers and is not as effective for others. That is not something that I have dove into understanding completely. So Dr. Nasha would be a little more skilled in that. Now, I will tell you that there are certain cancers we know clinically. I have stumbled upon these studies that do really well with fasting, like breast cancer. The greatest study that was done showed that women who had breast cancer, if they intermittent fasted anywhere from 13 to 15 hours after they had chemo, after radiation, like once they'd gone through that whole process, that they had a 70% less chance of a reoccurrence than women who did not intermittent fast. So that's pretty powerful. Then if you look at things like using logic, like colon cancer. So we know at 24 hours that you get stem cells that get rebooted in the intestinal tract. So colon cancer, it would make sense that you would want to end up doing some more longer 24-hour fasts. We also know that from Walter Longo's work that at 3 days of a water fast, it reboots the whole immune system. We've had great success in my clinic with people with lymphoma and leukemia because that study was done on rebooting the immune system. So any cancers that have to do with the immune system, well, all cancer has to do with the immune system, but that are specifically targeted for pieces of the immune system, that they're going to do really well with water fasts. So that's kind of my base knowledge there, and then go find Dr. Nasha.
And I think the article, the New England Journal of Medicine article, talks about some of the cancers, and specific ones, and we've already cited that in the notes of this.
Yeah, and when I put the article out tomorrow on intermittent fasting, I will link the New England Journal of Medicine article so you guys can dive into it and look through it. So they came out with like 8 very specific conditions that they said intermittent fasting can help with, and cancer was one of them. If you dive in deeper to it, you'll see which cancers they're saying.
Based on science.
All based off of science. Yeah, that's what I love. It's in the New England Journal of Medicine. It's not going to, nothing's going in there that hasn't been thoroughly tended to and vetted. So,
can PCOS cause a weight loss stall if you're doing keto and intermittent fasting?
Yeah, so PCOS, go back and watch. I did a video a while ago. It was like 6 months ago on PCOS. So PCOS is, as you know, an imbalance in hormones, and there can be some highs and lows of different hormones. So here's the way that I look at the healing of any of the sex hormones specifically. Progesterone, testosterone is one of the hormones that gets out of balance in PCOS. So, but estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Remember that cortisol stress is going to influence insulin, and then insulin is going to influence those sex hormones. So if you're on keto and you're keeping your insulin down, you're gonna have really good results balancing your PCOS. Now, because insulin comes down, it's gonna balance some of those sex hormones. Now, on the flip side of this, and it's gonna seem a little contradictory, but this is how complicated the human body is that if you're doing keto all the time and your insulin is down all the time, that you're missing out on some foods that build progesterone and that help balance estrogen. Foods like beans and squashes and quinoa and rices, potatoes. So this is why I say splash in hormone building days. Live your ketobiotic, because you also need to make sure that you're getting enough greens. Do a ketobiotic to follow that formula for a while, and then splash in some hormone building days. And now you're covering both bases. You're over here like saying, okay, I'm gonna bring insulin down so I can control my sex hormones that way, and certain foods that will help balance things like progesterone. So I hope that helps, but go back and watch the video. I did a video just specifically on PCOS. I talked about all the different factors that you should think about.
So this is a common question. If someone is diabetic, how should they start an IF lifestyle?
Yeah, okay, so if you're diabetic, how should you start an intermittent fasting lifestyle? Go watch the video I did yesterday on new to fasting. That formula, I walk you through 3 steps. That's the exact formula you should follow. So you want to be slow and you want to be methodical about it, and you want to be watching your blood sugar and very, very closely. Ideally, I'd prefer that you were under the supervision of a doctor of some kind so that you have somebody watching those numbers with you. But we've seen so many, not just me, but fellow colleagues, we've seen such incredible results with intermittent fasting and even longer fasts with helping with diabetes, both type 1 and type 2. So I love intermittent fasting for you. Just be slow and methodical about it. Follow the 3 steps that I mapped out on yesterday's video. Prolon, this again showed up in my conversation with Dr. Anton. Prolon is made, they're coming out with just a mimicking diet for diabetics. So that's another thing you could tap into is Prolon and do a 5-day Prolon experience, because they have made that available for diabetics. So something else to think about.
Great. This is an interesting question and brings up a lot of nuance about the human body.
Okay.
Can you address shift work in fasting?
Oh yeah, shift work. Yeah, shift work is my least favorite when I'm working with a patient because your circadian rhythm is so off. So, yeah, I mean, you can do it. Obviously, you just have to pick your window and say, I'm going to do a 15-hour window, whatever that window is. I mean, you still follow the same principles. You still have the same 24 hours that we all have. The challenge is that you're sleeping when it's daylight, which messes up your circadian rhythm. So decide how many hours you want to fast. And then once you've picked that, just figure out where that will fit in your window of time. The biggest challenge you're going to have is cortisol dysregulation because you're not getting the sunlight as much during the day. So just be aware of that. Long-term shift work is really hard on the human body. But you can fast. You can still fast, and it'll bring those, balance those hormones out. It's still having a healing effect on you. Just pick whatever window you want. I would start with like 13 to 15 hours, and then you'll just have to be eating at 2 or 3 in the morning, and that's okay. That's fine.
Right. And you want to try to eat a few hours before you go to sleep, right? Regardless of how you're doing intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I mean, this brings up a whole nother like can of worms to understand, is that if you have a big heavy meal before you go to bed, you're going to spike cortisol and you're going to make it difficult for you to sleep. So if you're a shift worker, what I've seen with a lot of the shift workers that I've coached is that they end up where they get off a shift and then they want to eat a big meal and then they want to go to bed, or cortisol regulation. So try to either when you get off and you're in the morning when you're eating, or whatever that first time, I would just make sure that you are keeping it a smaller meal. That's how I would do it.
Okay. It's an interesting question here from Donna.
Okay.
And, how do you not lose weight when you're intermittent fasting? She is already at her set point. She doesn't have any more weight to lose.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So this is what we always say: when you fast, and when you eat. And it sounds silly, but when the fasting window is open, you're obviously not eating. So you're intermittent fasting. But then if you don't want to lose weight, once you open up that eating window, you need to eat. And if I would specifically, for people who get too thin, I really acids in it. You can lean in if you know that if you're like a menopausal or perimenopausal woman, you can lean into some of the hormone building stuff. But you need to not follow the macros that we lay out for people who want to lose weight. So if you want to lose weight, keeping your net carbs down around even 20, 30 grams is great. Keeping your protein down around 20 is great. If you don't want to lose weight, then I encourage my patients I push those macros are up to like 75 carbs and 75 protein. So when you eat, you got to eat more, and you got to bring those macros up, so that then when you go into intermittent fasting and you're using all the principles of healing there, you're not going to lose too much weight. So.
Okay. And Susie wants to know how can she incorporate CBD oil? She takes a dose every night.
Okay.
As well as vitamin supplements, vitamin D, and thyroid medication.
Susie wants to know about CBD oil into her fasting window.
While you're doing these things, it says intermittent fasting. I don't think she means water fasting. Yeah,
so CBD oil is great. There's great research on it. Again, make sure that you're getting a pure CBD. I just need to point that out because the marijuana and hemp plant really pull up heavy metals from the soil. So make sure you're getting a real good organic one. You can take it any time you want to take it. That's up to you. And same thing with supplements. The one thing that I warn people against is if you are going to do a longer fast, it's really in your body's best interest to not do as many supplements. So if you're doing more than a 24-hour fast, if you're doing a 36, 48, 72 hour, that's where I'm like, could we try to not do supplements and just let this intelligence of the body do what it needs to do? So the less external factors coming in, the more the human body can go to work. It's kind of how I feel about coffee and cream in your coffee. Is just know there are some guidelines we can encourage you to follow, but the more you just do water, then, or dry fast, the more you allow the intelligence to work. So if you're intermittent fasting all the time and you want to know if CBD works for that, it sounds like I wouldn't see a problem with it. Make sure it's a pure source, and yeah, it's the longer water fasts. I would be a little more hesitant with it.
And then we do have a question. This is the kind of question we actually cover in the academy a little bit more. Hams, she's watched a lot of your videos about progesterone boosting foods, but
Okay.
she can't have beans and potatoes,
Yeah.
and she doesn't have squash available.
Yeah.
This is the kind of support that we offer in the academy, more
Yeah.
personalized like that. But do you have any other
Well,
recommendations for food?
let's talk about progesterone for a second. So you don't have access to the different foods that you can build with progesterone. And we do in the Reset Academy, we do 2 calls a month. But the calls go anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, and I just answer questions and make sure we walk through this process with people. So join me over there, and we can really dive in a little more into your health. But let me tell you about progesterone for a moment. Progesterone is influenced by many factors, and one of those factors is which is as important as your beans and your squashes and the foods I recommend, is stress. So there's a great book called Rushing Woman Syndrome, and it's about how, in general, if we are overdoing it, if stress is too high, then we will suppress progesterone. So, and for the woman, I don't know how old you are, but if you're over 40, your progesterone levels are just starting to tank. That's what they do from 40 in the 40s and 50s. So you have a really emotionally balanced life, that you're not in a rush mode, that you're not overscheduled, that you're not uber stressed out. So practice some meditation, get out in the sunlight. Those kind of things are going to be beneficial to you. So know that there's other things you can do. As far as eating the foods, so if you still have a cycle, and I don't know if you have a cycle or not, just make sure that the week before your cycle, you're not fasting long periods and you're not in extreme keto, because it's the low blood sugar and the low insulin that starts to bring down estrogen, the good estrogens, and progesterone. So I just throw in those ideas of like, hey, these other foods build progesterone up. But equally as important is we should not be keto the week before our cycle, because that's where we start to tank these sex hormones. So hopefully that gives you some other ideas.
Great. And Debbie, our part of our support here, or part of our team, she said that somebody has asked on one of the other things about fasting and hyperglycemia, and how you should start fasting if you have hyperglycemia.
If you have hyperglycemia,
Yeah.
not hypoglycemia.
No, hypo, my bad.
Oh, okay.
Hypo,
I'm like,
not
that's
hypo,
fascinating.
hypo.
Okay, hypoglycemia. Okay, for starters, Debbie's saying that on one of our other platforms, somebody asked about hypoglycemia and fasting. So let me just start off by saying, for starters, I was the hangry queen of the world. So if I didn't get food for most of my life,
I had to run.
Sequoia had to run. People had to get out of the way. I was going to take you down. And so when I first learned about intermittent fasting, I was like, this is crazy. Like the first time I learned it, I thought, okay, I could do that a day. Yeah, sure, I could do that a day. And then when I read the research that was like, this is a lifestyle, I just couldn't even imagine it. So with the hypoglycemic person, you have to, so again, go back and watch the 3-step process. You start to slowly, the mindset that needs to happen is, the hypoglycemic person is, I need to eat all day. In fact, when I was that person, I carried bars with me and food with me. I never left home without that stuff. So I have to eat all day, and I need to eat when I get up. The first mindset shift I'd want for the hypoglycemic person is to say, could I get up and push my breakfast back an hour? How about I just start closing my eating window and extending my fasting window? And you do it very slowly. Now, the second part for the hypoglycemic person, and the part I had to learn as well, was increasing your good fat. So when you increase your good fat, it stabilizes the blood sugar. For the hypoglycemic person, they're doing this. They're going up and down. So they eat and they're like, oh, I feel better. And then it tanks and they feel horrible. And then, oh, I feel better. And then it tanks and they feel horrible. Well, when you eat a lot of good fat, you stabilize your blood sugar. So I have found that's what worked for me. I always tell the story that when my sister, after I'd been fasting for a couple years and all different types of fasting, we went on vacation with my older sister and her family, and my sister looked at me and she said, I can't believe that you go so long without food. That was never like you. And it wasn't. I just had to do those two principles that I just taught you. I had to up my good fat and slowly take my eating window and shrink it down and get used to these longer fasting windows.
Okay, so we're near we're at our 40-minute mark, and we have 45 minutes today.
Okay.
So I think that we have time for one or two more questions. So I'm just scrolling through to see who had. Okay, this is one. You want to talk about this is. I'm going to paraphrase your question here a little bit to the person who wrote it out. If you are fasting and you don't see your blood sugar numbers moving in the direction you want, or they're spiking sometimes,
okay,
you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so you're fasting and your blood sugar's not moving. So,
or even going up, perhaps.
Yeah, okay, it happens often. So you're not alone. That's the first thing I want to tell you. Remember that
she is a diabetic, this person.
Okay, yeah, I wondered if you were diabetic. So remember that there are two parts of controlling your blood sugar. There is the part of what you're taking in today, and there's the part of what you stored, the glucose you stored a while ago. So what we're finding is that when you're taking a measurement of your blood sugar, you're typically measuring what's going on in the blood, obviously, at that moment. But the more you keep that blood sugar down, your body will signal to your body to go release the sugar that it stored in the liver and it's stored in fat. And what that might look like on your sugar monitor is that all of a sudden you're going along and boom, your blood sugar goes up. To me, it depends on how high it goes, but to me that can be a good thing. I look at it like a sponge, that you're like wringing out all this excess sugar that was stored in tissues. Think about like why diabetics with out of control blood sugar, it'll get stored in their eyes and destroy their eyes. It gets stored in their limbs. So what you're doing with fasting is you're releasing all that stored sugar, which is awesome. Now, you got to watch your numbers. You got to be safe. Again, I'm going to encourage you to work with your doctor so that you kind of know where your edges are. But to me, it's not a bad thing. And what I've seen with the clients that I've been working one-on-one with is that over time, that starts to stabilize. And all of a sudden they go, oh, this is really interesting. My blood sugar's not going up like it was in the beginning. So play with all the different fasts, and you'll see there's a really that should shift if you're staying in a keto world and you're doing more fasting.
So Susie, I'm just going to say that your question is really interesting, but it's very complex. She has a question about following a protocol that Rudolph Bruess does for cancer.
Okay.
But that's the kind of thing that we really can't answer without understanding a lot more about their
a cancer protocol.
Cancer protocols and fasting and juice protocols and those kind of things. We're not really geared for that in this group setting. But the question about if you this is a different question from Jennifer. If you accidentally licked butter or a little bulletproof off your finger in your fasting window, did you just blow your whole fast?
That's an interesting. So Jennifer wants to know, if you lick your finger and there's a little bit of fat on there, did you just blow it? Well, if it's fat, this is not the end of the world. So it's fat. It's not like, oh, there was a chocolate cake there and I just happened to grab a piece of it and take a bite of it. Like that would be, yes, you took yourself out of a fasted state. But with fat, it typically doesn't raise your blood sugar. So I would say my first reaction is like, I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's not the end of the world. And you wouldn't want to, the more pure you can be, the more you're going to stay in a fasted state. And this is why I always say, if you're curious how that butter works for you, take a blood sugar reading one day, eat a little like scoop of butter, and then a half an hour take another blood sugar reading and see what it does to your blood sugar. For me, when I did that measurement, fat makes my blood sugar go down, which is really cool. So for some people, it makes it go up. Everybody's unique. It's actually based off of your microbiome that determines how your blood sugar is going to balance. So we all have different microbiomes. So.
Okay. Well, that we are at 45 and a half minutes.
Okay.
So.
Cool. If you guys are joining me in the Forever Young reset, just let me know. I want to get to know you guys. We've definitely had an amazing turnout, and I really want to be able to help as many people as I can. So we're contemplating putting a cap on it here soon, because we're well into the hundreds of people right now that want to join. So I want to make sure that everybody gets attention. So if you're on the fence thinking about joining the Forever Young reset, join. And you will we'll be on this journey together. So, as always, thanks you guys. I want to get to know each and every one of you, and I want to support you in your health. Keep asking questions, keep commenting on the videos. Thank you for sharing all the videos out. And I know that together we can reach 1 million people. We can get to 1 million people living this fasting lifestyle and end all this crazy suffering that's going on in the world right now. So from the bottom of my heart, I hope that helps.